Now for this label, we need to find a size of the area. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my storyboard. I'm going to open up my right panel. And I'm going to go ahead and just add a UI view to get an idea. So UI view. So I'm going to drag out one of those blank UI views. I'm going to resize it down. Oops. And I'm going to give it a, and actually, that looks about right. So what I'm going to look at is the ruler to get the information I need. So I'm going to look at my ruler, and I see that it's 539, 125. So 539 pixels from the left, and 125 pixels down, and it has a width of 465. So I need to remember those numbers. The height I don't need to remember. The height's going to be automatic based on the label, how much text is in it. Okay, now that I have that in there, I'm going to press delete. I'm going to go back to viewcontroller.m. I'm going to hide that right panel again. And in my search, I'm going to get a result label. So below our if statement, well actually, we're going to modify this a little bit. So what I'm going to change it to is if not result. And I'm going to say result equals at quotes no result found. Yep, that'll work. And then I can take out that whole else. So now a result, no matter what's going to have some kind of value. So if it was null before, we're going to change it to no result found. Now to create a label, you need a maximum size. So I'm going to say CG size, maximum size. That's where our width's going to come in. Equals CG size make. Takes a width. That's that 465. And height, I'm going to say 9,999. It can be as tall as we want it. And then we're going to get a size of what actually the label is going to take up by using the NS string. So result has an interesting property where you can actually get the size if you use a certain font. So I'm going to do a CG size. I'll say our label size equals, I'm going to start square bracket, we're going to say result. Okay, result. And we want this third one down. So size with font, a constrained size, how basically we use that to tell us how wide it is, and then a line break mode. We're going to have word wrapping on this. So size with font, we're going to choose our font, we're going to say UI font, and we're going to use just a system font, but you can choose any font you want on this. And we're going to say 15. Now a tip on the fonts, try to use odd sized fonts, so 15, 17, and so on. If you use an even font, you might find out that basically it might be a little bit more blurry. I've seen this in a core graphics book. They recommended actually using odd sized fonts, and I thought that was kind of weird, but in one of the apps I've created before, I noticed that I had one font that was 15 and one that was 16, and the one that was 16 was actually a little bit blurry. So if you use an odd font, you'll get a little bit sharper text. I imagine in later versions of iOS they're going to fix that, especially since iOS 7 they focused a lot on fonts. Now our constrained to size, that's going to be that maximum size we built before. And our line break mode is NS line break, so NS, and let's do by word wrapping. So NS line break by word wrapping. Do our closing square bracket. So now we have a size for our label. And we're going to use that previous data, so we're going to say UI label star answer label equals, and let's go ahead and do UI label alloc, and we're going to in it with a frame. We're going to do CG rect make, We want to be 539 over from the left, 165 down, and then our width and height is going to be from the size that was given back to us. So this is the dynamic part. So our label size dot width and our label size dot height. So far up to this point, we specified a maximum size basically for the word wrapping. We're saying when you reach 465 pixels over, we need a wrap to the next line. You can go on pretty much forever. And then we got our label size from the text. So it wasn't dependent on something we set up. We said, look at the text and tell us how much space it's going to take if you use this font within this size constraint and with this wrapping mode. Then we created a UI label that had a frame that starts out where our upper left corner was on the ruler, and we used our size, the width, and height from that we got from the text. Now our UI label, it's blank right now, so we're going to say answer label dot text equals result. And then there's a couple other things we need to set up. By default, the labels are one line, so we got to say answer label dot line break mode equals that same break mode we passed in above, so ns line break by word wrapping. And then another feature is answer label dot number of lines equals 0. So you can specify it to be 0, which would mean just keep on going as far as you need, or else you could have 1, 2, or 3 if you want to specify a certain number of lines. But if you put in 0, it'll just assume that you want the amount of lines that you need for that. Now the final thing we have to do is add it to our view. So we're going to say self.view, add subview, and we're going to say answer label. Oops. And there's one other thing I forgot. Well, actually we'll run it to make sure it works. We're going to notice a little bit of an issue. Well, maybe not. Okay, so if we type in hello, search, need to do some debugging. Let's do, it's kind of an odd issue, but let's try something. Answer label dot font equals UI font, system font of size 15. If the font was too big to fit within the area, it might not show up at all. So we know that this is running. It should be showing though. Now if this doesn't try, my next hypothesis would be to try out changing the color. So hello, search. There we go. So what happened there was that basically the font that I chose was bigger than the default. Well, it didn't fit in the spacing. So we didn't have like the font space that we tested for was 15, which was small, so the space was pretty small. And the regular font size is bigger than that, so it didn't show up because the text was bigger than the space. So make sure you have that UI font size. Now another thing I was going to put is a tag, because we're going to notice an issue. So I'm going to answer label.tag equals 3. Okay, so I'm going to go and do a stop and run. Okay, if I do a hello search, I get testing. If I do Northwest Tech search, the result's fine. So far, so good. Oops. Northwest Tech. And then I'm going to say a great place to go to college. Great campus. Lots of stuff to do. Actually, I want to copy. Oh, I can't copy and paste. Bummer. Other stuff to type. So basically, we just need to fill in a bunch of lorem ipsum stuff. So we want to see the word wrapping, and we're going to also see another issue. I'll show up. I'm going to add the key value pair. I'm going to search again. And then there you see it fits automatically in there, so that's kind of nice. Now if I do hello again, so up to this point it seems like it's all working, but if I do a search for hello, I see testing place to go to college. The reason for that is the label is not covering up the previous label, so that's why we got to add that tag. We're going to fix that, so that'll be the last thing we got to fix, is just make sure that we remove all those previous tagged items. And then also the keyboard, we want to also automatically hide that as well.